Hello everyone, welcome back to another Maya 2015 tutorial. Today we're going to be doing some animation rigging for through HIK. So the HIK rig is kind of like a very fast and easy to set up character rig that comes with a ton of controls that's just going to be real easy to set up. You can do a custom control rig. Those are awesome, but you really need to know what you're doing. They're kind of time consuming to put together. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can end up with a broken rig that doesn't quite animate the way you want. So we're aiming to take our character rig into motion capture after this. So HIK is pretty much set up for it, and it's just a very streamlined process. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. We're gonna make sure our animation drop down here is on, or our menu set is on animation. Excuse me. We're gonna make sure skeleton is set to human IK. That will open up a tab over on the right um, for our human IK rig. Now, it'll go ahead and sometimes just drop in a character rig for us. If it didn't do that for you, let's just say it didn't do that, I'll just delete off this one here, my outliner, delete off that one. I've been working with human IK, so it probably just dropped one in there just because I knew I was going to be needing it. But if you need to make one by default, you just go to create skeleton, and it'll just drop in a skeleton for you. It dropped in the one I used before, so I'm going to delete off this one so I can resize this. Show you guys how to use it. Make sure it didn't get rid of that other reference. Okay. Sorry. That's what happens when you go through and do the same lesson multiple times. Alright, so let's get the skeleton rig fitted for our group character. So sometimes you'll be looking at this and you'll see your tab looks like this, and this isn't actually displaying everything that's in the HIK. It's actually cutting almost half. So I'll flip between definition and then back to skeleton, and it'll open up the rest of your options there. You can see like all of these options here were cut off, and the scales were really like cut down to nubs. So let's get the scale of this Groot down to the size that Groot actually is. So I'm just going to take the scale slider and bring it down 50% or so, a little bit more. Basically, we're aiming to get the hips settled in right here, and then the rest we can adjust by hand. Almost there. Just a little bit more. Nope, that was too much. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. Okay, so now don't worry about adjusting both sides. We're just going to mirror everything over. So let's just adjust the left side, and then we'll just mirror it over to the right. So let's start with the hips. Select one hip, and let's go to our 4-panel view. I'll just click on this icon here, open up our 4-panel, and we'll start from the front. And we'll move this out to where it's kind of in the socket. Move this one out to where it's in the knee area. We'll lift it up a little bit too, so it's kind of set up inside the knee. And then this one here is our foot, so bring that back down to the ground plane and move it over a little bit more, so that's actually kind of in the middle of the foot here. And then we'll go back to our 4-panel, jump into our side view, and let's go ahead and move the hip back into the socket. That's good. Move this one back up to where its knee is right up inside here. And then we'll move this one back a little bit to where it's kind of in where you'd think the ankle would be. Alright, let's just check our 4-panel. Make sure that I didn't accidentally grab the wrong side. Shouldn't happen, but sometimes, you know, accidents happen. So you should be able to go back and forth and do this throughout the entire project. So let's say you're happy with this result here. You should just be able to click this icon here, which is mirror right to left, or left to right, I'm sorry, and it'll snap everything over. And you can do this like throughout your project, just to keep moving it on over. Okay, so let's take a look here. With the feet, you can have the option of adding more toes or joints for the toes. So let's say we want to add in in-foot joint, and we want to add in a big toe. Let's get rid of that input joint actually. There we go. Let's do the toe base. That works. And we're going to do, let's say, middle and pinky and ring. So all these joints here and actually let's take the count down too. Let's move from 3 down to, let's say, 2. Okay, so now we only have 2 joints here to deal with. Alright, so let's just translate these over, get them kind of fitted in with the rest of the foot. So let's go for that one. Good for that one. Good for that one. And good for that one. Okay. So now we're going to change the size of these guys because obviously that size isn't going to work. They're way too small. Okay. Let's rotate this one out just a little bit. There we go. That looks good. This one here, rotate that. That looks good. Let's translate it out a little bit too. Translate that last one down to the end of the toe. That's good. Rotate this guy over. Move it up just a little bit. That joint, move it up. Move this one to the end. And this one we're going to have to rotate over here facing the pinky. Translate it up just a little bit. That's good. And the end of the pinky. There we go. Alright, so that's all set up. Let's go ahead and mirror it again. So we'll just right to left. There we go. Alright, so now let's adjust the back to where the back fits in with the rest of the body here. So we're going to jump into our 4-panel view here. Okay. And I know that some of you may be picking up that I'm not naming anything here. Everything's already named. All these little names here are already attached to all these joints, and left and right's already attached. So HIK already does all the naming convention work for you. So that saves you a little bit of time. All right, so jumping back into our side view here. Now we need to fit this guy in here. So I'm going to kind of just rotate a little bit here and there, just to kind of keep with the curvature of his chest here. Okay. And now I actually need to go back to my front view. And I need to make sure that this looks okay. Maybe we'll just bring it up just a little bit. Okay. And before we get into the arms, let's adjust the head out. Back to the spacebar here. We'll get back into our perspective. Let's move this guy up. So we want one more joint in here. So let's go ahead and add another neck joint. Let's see here. Toes, fingers, neck count. There we go. Let's move it from 1 to 2. Okay. It's a little bit sporadic as we moved it, but it's no problem. We just move it where we want it, and then we'll rotate this guy up right there. That looks about good. Okay. Now we gotta get the hands all set up, or the arms all set up. Let's move this to where his clavicle is kind of in the clavicle area, and then we'll drop down to where his arm is. It's a little bit off. We can move this back to where it's back in the meat of it. That's good. Bring this guy down. That's good. It's kind of a weird idea for a clavicle because, yeah, normally a clavicle goes like this, but he's got his like this whole shoulder plate and arms start down over here, so it'll be a little bit different, but we'll just roll with it. It's a little abnormal for a humanoid character, but it's no problem. We'll just keep going. Alright, so let's fit the elbow to where the elbow needs to be. Forward a little bit, and we're going to move it back a little bit so it kind of follows that kind of curve of the elbow so that when we go to animate, it knows to buckle in this direction and not this direction. Okay. Also, let's just go ahead and push down a little bit, make sure it's on inside of it. That's good. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hand now. The hand position actually looks okay. Let's go ahead and add a finger base. You can start moving the stuff off after the fact. It usually jumps all over the place like it's currently doing right now, but you know, a little bit finessing. It'll still be back where it needs to be. It's just, that's not where the origin is, so it just kind of throws that new joint back where it started and not where it needs to be. Alright, and the thumb here, we're going to move the thumb first. Let's go ahead and get that guy situated. Okay. Thumb is looking good. Now, you don't want to translate these joints down to place in the fingers and because if you do, especially with the thumb, you're going to mess up with the joint orientation. So if you were to grab each one of these joints, just kind of move them over into place here. The way they rotate would be kind of off kilter. So we're going to rotate these joints kind of. You can translate them once you've got them. See how it's pointing down the chain? That's the way I want it to go out. Then I'll just use the rotate function from the base of the joint to kind of get to where I need it to be. Okay. Translate this one down a little bit and over. Or I guess we just rotate it a little bit. That's what I want to do. Push this one back just a little bit. Good. And then we just got our last one, this guy here. Gotta translate that one down. Good. Okay, so the thumb's looking good. Let's get the fingers all set up now. Translate them into position. Okay, rotate this guy down just a little bit more. Alright, that finger's good. And let's see if we can still take out a finger, because we only have 3 fingers for the root and a thumb. So let's see if we can just ditch, let's see, the index finger. Oops, not the index finger. Let's say ring finger. There we go. Rotate that guy down. Good. Scale him down over here. And then one last joint. Okay, now we just gotta do the pinky. Pinky's almost there. Just gotta move all the joints out. Just run through the same process. All right. Let's go ahead and just rotate out just a little bit. All right, so that looks good for the hand. Now we just got to mirror it over. So there we go. All right, so now our character rig is actually done. Oh, the joints are done. We need to skin this model to the joints. So we're going to go and select the model, and we're going to shift select the skeleton, and we're going to go skin interactive bind. Now smooth bind is the one I would normally use in most of my my animation 2 classes, but just so you guys can get used to painting weights. But interactive bind is actually a real fast way to throw in weights, and I'm actually becoming more and more fond of it. So we're going to go and use interactive bind. So go ahead and activate interactive bind, and you'll get these little capsules here. Now we're pretty much out of time for today's lesson, but I'm going to give you kind of an overview on where we're going with this. So in the next lesson, we're going to use these little capsules to weight the geometry, and by weighting is what I mean is we're going to assign influence. So we'll say how much each joint influences the rest of the geometry, and we'll go through the whole model and designate out the influence. And the capsules do a fairly good job right out the gate, but to refine some of the models just takes a little bit of finesse to get in there and push around the capsules and resize them to fit the influence we're after. And then once we're done with our influence, then we'll add our control rig. It's very simple, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.